Hey guys, welcome back to this tier list where I will show you which of the non-engine, the staple cards, you should get first when starting off with Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I'll also explain to you the logic behind that. We have a tier list here where I will place them into get first. These are the most important ones, then high priority, then situational. These can be good, but are very situational in some environments, meta environments. They are good, in others they are not. And then we have a don't get category where I will put cards that I would say are never ever really good and you should not craft or maybe even decraft if you draw them from a pack. But before starting into that, I will quickly want to talk about what even is like the hand trap or the board breaker, what is non-engine, in case that you are not aware. So we have an example deck here, which is Snake Eyes Fire King here together with Azamina as an engine, but that doesn't really matter. The most important subjects here are the words engine and non-engine. So what is that even? Engine is referring to all of the cards that basically belong to an archetype. So for example, we have this Fire King archetype here. You can see Fire King Avatar. We also have Fire King Sacred Fire King Garunix or Fire King High Avatar Garunix. So we have mixed this here with another engine, which would be the Snake Eyes engine, Snake Eyes Ash, Snake Eyes Oak, or for example, the Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon. So we have mixed together two engines, and the engines are basically cards that belong to an archetype that have the task of helping us win the game. These are basically the cards that you do your combos with, and that in the end, if you win by that way, will kill the opponent with attack points. You can also do it with your non-engine cards. This would be something like your Ash Blossom or your Effect Veiler, but as you can already see, Ash Blossom, for example, has 0 attack, Effect Veiler also, and cards like Duel Knockbird also would have 0 attack. But there are cards, non-engine cards like the Fuvolos, which in theory with 100 attack would give you the opportunity to finish the game. So it's not super clear, the definition I just gave you, but this is basically how you want to win the game. This is, if you want to view it that way, the offense of your team, if we are thinking of it in terms of American football, for example. This is the offense of your team, and then you have the non-engine part, which is normally the defense of your team. And the non-engine part are mostly hand traps. Hand traps referring to cards that are not trap cards like these here, Dominus Impulse or Infinite Impermanence, but monster cards most likely that are used as traps. Traps in order to interrupt your opponent. These are the defense cards in your decks, like for example the Ash Blossom, which would allow you to interrupt your opponent when he's searching for something, or the Effect Veiler, which enables you to basically negate the effect of an opponent's monster during his turn. So this is basically the defense of your deck, and most decks are consisting of these engine parts and these non-engine parts. And then there are also board breakers. So we have hand traps and board breakers. For example, a card like Evenly Matched would be a board breaker, which Evenly Matched says that at the end of the battle phase, if you do not control any cards, you can play this card from your hand, and then your opponent has to banish cards face down so that he also only has as many cards on the field as you have. And since you only have this Evenly Matched card on the field, he would need to banish face down cards until he only has one card on the field. So board breakers, unlike hand traps, have the opportunity or the task, basically, they are more offensively to break an opponent's already established end board, whereas hand traps would help you stop your opponent from playing and even reaching this end board, the end of his combo, basically. So this is the difference between board breakers and hand traps, but this is basically non-engine versus engine, and every deck is consisting out of both of them. And if you are starting off, then like all the time in the game, basically, you are low on resources and you have to really understand how to invest your resources wisely. Obviously, if you want to play any deck, go ahead and go to Master Duel Meta. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta, but go ahead, go to Master Duel Meta, check out the decks that are there. There you will see a lot of deck lists for the decks that you might want to play. And obviously, you need your engine part first, because how do you win the game with only the interruption parts, the hand traps and the board breakers? Obviously, you need to invest into your engine first, but this is not what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about which cards you should get first after you have gotten your needed engine for, let's say, the first deck that you want to play. So we have all the most important hand traps and board breakers here, and The big difference here to understand is that some of them are ultra rares and some of them are super rares, which is why I will place the super rares probably a bit differently than the ultra rares. So let's just start off. We have Ash Blossom here first, and you could already see the Ash Blossom here in the list. Ash Blossom is definitely one of the most important cards and one of the cards that you need to get first. One important thing to understand is that a lot of these cards you can actually get in bundle offerings. A bundle offering you can find in the shop under bundles, and there you can find bundles where you can, for example, get cards like the Ash Blossom here, or where is the Infinite Impermanence? Do we even know? Did I miss Imperm? Okay. Imperm, for example, you can get these cards. You will get one copy of these ultra rare cards, and then you will get 10 packs. This is always the best thing that you can buy in the shop. If you are totally new to the game, I also have a very, very in-depth beginner guide linked in the top right corner. Go ahead and check that out. But Ash Blossom is a card that you will want to make first. There's another card that you want to make before you make Ash Blossom, but I will talk about this in a second here. One of the most important cards, since you can counter the strongest card in the game, which is this one here, Maxi, with Ash Blossom. And Ash Blossom is just a hand trap that is good in a lot of different formats, is just strong every time, and there's basically no deck that you do not want to put in triple Ash Blossom. So having 3 Ash Blossoms is what you want to do first with your ultra rare crafting points. Besides one card that we will come to later on that you want to get even before you get the Ash Blossoms. Then we have Forbidden Droplet, which is more of a board breaker, giving you the ability to negate opponents' monsters without them having the ability to react to this, depending on which cards you send. And I think that Forbidden Droplet is definitely not a card that you want to get first. This is more of this is on the edge of being a high priority or a situational card. You definitely can get away with not having Forbidden Droplets for a while in the game, but there will be decks that are very good using Forbidden Droplet because they have a lot of cards that can be sent away for the cost of Forbidden Droplet. So in the end, we will have to see whether we put this in high priority or situational. This will either be at the top of situational or at the bottom of high priority. Then we have Evenly Matched, also a board breaker that I just mentioned here, and Evenly Matched is a board breaker that I would suggest in the beginning getting first, just because this is a super rare. And you will see this with a lot of super rares. Super rares are pretty easy to come by. You have a lot of super rare resources. And if, for example, you are making your first deck and then you have your engine part, let's, for example, say you make your Fire King Snake Eyes deck, which you can also make a Master Duel, then it's definitely not bad to just go ahead and get the super rares first if you don't have any more ultra rare crafting points. Since the super rares, Even Matched is definitely a card that you do not want to play in every deck or in every format, in every meta basically. But if you are in the beginning, this is just a strong card and it's cheap. So you can use it in the beginning if you don't have access to all of the other cards that are just better. So getting Evenly Matched in the beginning, using them is definitely a good strategy if you are low on resources. We have another board breaker here in Dark Ruler No More, which basically says that you can negate all monsters that are currently on the field of your opponent. Very strong card, but definitely a situational card. We could even put this into the don't get category, but this might end up on the bottom of situational. There are not a lot of situations in which you would put this into your main deck. We are playing best of 1. If we would play best of 3 with a side deck, this would be a bit of a different story. This is very meta dependent, and we are playing best of 1, which is why this is a very low priority card. It's also an ultra rare, and you should not get this in the beginning. Then we have Triple Tactic Talents, which is definitely a high priority card, since you can put this basically in any deck at any point. This is a board breaker and also not a hand trap, but this is a board breaker and a card that can help you play the game on your first turn. So this is why this card is so nice. You can use it going second to break an opponent's board by stealing a monster, but you can also use this going first. If your opponent interrupts you with a hand trap, then you can activate Triple Tactic Talents to maybe draw 2 more cards, getting more plays into your hand, or you can also use this to look at your opponent's hand and then maybe remove their one option if they only have one of playing the game themselves. So Triple Tactic Talents, though none of the get first cards here, which I think there is a pack where you can get 1 Triple Tactic Talents, a bundle pack, which get all the bundle packs first. But after that, this is definitely a high priority card, but not one of the get firsts. Then we have Ghost Bell, which is also an ultra rare. It's part of this Ghost package here where there are also a few other girls of this. This is definitely a situational card, a good situational card that will come up in metas from time to time, but since it's an ultra rare, definitely not a card that you want to get early on. We have Maxi, which is the card that you should get first. This is the best card in the entire game. Get 3 Maxis. This is the first highest priority that you have. This card just helps you, forcing your opponent to basically pass his turn or winning the game if you have established a board yourself. This is the most powerful card in the entire game. This is why we are playing Triple Ash Blossom all the time. It's also a very good card, but this is one of the reasons. So just get your Triple Maxis. They are amazing. And then we have Nibiru, which is definitely one of the most high priority cards that you can have. This is an ultra rare. Also, you can get one from the bundle. This is definitely more impactful than Talents, in my opinion, but not one of the get first cards you should. They are more impactful ones that you should get first, in my opinion. But next on the list is definitely Nip. This will be at the top of the high priority list. Then we have board breakers like Raigeki, which you get one for free, I think, during the campaign. Other than that, I think you should never really get Raigeki. This is an ultra rare. We had a temper in the game dedicated to going second deck. If there are a lot of going second decks or you are playing a specific going second deck, then you can definitely think about getting a Raigeki. Other than that, it's just not that great. Then we have Book of Eclipse, which is another board breaker-ish card, which is not good in every format, but once again is also a super rare that you can just get early on if you do not have ultra rare crafting points to get other good non-engine cards. This is worse than even imagined in most cases, I think, but still a very good thing getting in the beginning of the game, since this is only a super rare. Then we have the Ghost Mourner and Moonichill, which is kind of like an Effect Veiler, but worse in my opinion. This is a card that is very situational, can come up from time to time. For example, if your deck can play a lot of non-engines, so for example, if you look at this deck here, let's say our engine would be very small, then we can definitely put in more non-engine cards. And in this case, this can definitely come up. So we have kind of like a priority list where you would say, okay, I definitely want Triple Maxi, I want Triple Ash Blossom, then I maybe want some Nibiru, some Triple Tactic Talents. And then if you still have some spots left, you might put in the Ghost Mourner and Moonichill, but this is definitely super situational and not a card that you really want to get. Then we have the Ghost Mourner and Spooky Dogwood, which is a card that gets you life points. This can be very nice in a best of 3 format with time. Here in Master Duel, it's a card that you never ever want to get. This is totally useless. Don't get this. Then we have Infinite Impermanence, in my opinion, one of the best cards in the game. Definitely the third thing that you should get. You will also get one in a bundle after getting Maxis, Ash Blossoms, and then triple Infinite Impermanence. You should get 3 Maxis, 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Imperms, and basically throw them into every deck, and you already have 9 extremely good non-engine cards. We have Harpy's Feather Duster, which is definitely a very situational card, being able to destroy all spells and traps of your opponent. There are some metas where the best deck places a lot of spells and traps, and then it can be good, but once again, this is more of a side deck card, and we don't have a side deck. We are just going best of 1 in every game, basically. So this is not something that you really want to prioritize getting. And then we have DD Crow, which is something that you can definitely get early on if you want to. This is also a super rare, which means it's just cheap to get, but this is more of a situational one. So we might, this is a super rare, this is in the same category as these here, but I would definitely put it somewhere here in the high priority category, since it's very limited in its use case, but it's super cheap. So you can get this early on and maybe put it in and have some use, but more of a high priority card since this is a super rare. Then we have Crosser Designator, which is definitely one of the cards that you want to get first. This is also a card that is only at 1, so you only need 1. This is the card that enables you to basically negate all of the other cards if you also have these cards in the deck. So if you have a Maxi in your deck, you can just use the Crosser Designator to negate your opponent's Maxi, which is super, super nice. That's why we want to put in Crosser Designator. This is one of the cards that you can basically put into every deck if you wanted to, but there's one that is even a bit better here, but definitely one of the cards that you want to get first. You only need 1, that's nice. We have Effect Veiler, which is one of the most high priority cards in my opinion, after Talents in my opinion. This is like Infinite Impermanence, but worse, since you can't use it on your turn, and it's more limited than the Infinite Impermanence. It also activates cards like the Triple Tactic Talents or the Thrust, which makes it worse. But after getting Nibirus and Talents, you would definitely get Effect Veilers, since this is the hand trap that you would put into any deck after you have put in, I don't know, 1 Nibiru and maybe 1 or 2 Talents. Then you would most likely, depending on the meta, go for Effect Veilers. So you can get one from the bundle. If you draw them, keep them, and at some point you will will want to make them, but not in the beginning. So concentrate on the get first category, which is the last card that we will put in the get first category, probably. Besides the super rares, is Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave, definitely a card that can counter Ash Blossom, that can counter Maxi, one of the most important cards in the game. You can only use 2. So get 2. So we would go triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, triple Imperm, then 2 Called by, and then 1 Cross Out. And this package here, consisting of 12 cards, is something that you can basically put into any deck. And at this point, in a lot of decks, you already have the maximum number of non-engine that you can play, which means if you have this here completed, then you already have a lot of the non-engine that you will ever use in this game. And after that, you can basically, over time, get all of these other cards. As already said, if you can get them from bundles, that is basically free. That's nice. But these 5 you need to get 3, 3, 2, 1, and then you have a lot of the already required best non-engine in the game that is available, basically. We have the Bestials here. These are super rares, which makes them very nice. I think they are high priority, definitely more high priority than DD Crow, way stronger. And the Bestial Magnamut, unfortunately, is an ultra rare, but I think getting a Bestial Magnamut is very nice, since the Bestials are good in a lot of different metas. You would only need to get 1 Bestial Magnamut, and then you can get, I think it's at 3 right now, the Bestial Druid Worm, which is normally the best one. You can also get the Baldrake. But you would get 1 Magnamut and then at least 1 Druid Worm. That would be a package consisting of 2 Bestials. The Magnamut can search another Bestial, which is why you don't not only want to get, for example, a Druid Worm, but if you play a Druid Worm, which is a super rare, you would also want to play a Magnamut, since then you can search your Druid Worm with your Magnamut. This should be the lowest package that you play Bestials in. There will be metas in which you play a lot of Bestials, and then there will be metas in which they are less relevant, but definitely extremely good card to get, and in some metas they are extremely important. Then I have Duel and Lockbird here, which I think is one of the best cards, since this is only a super rare. And it's basically on the same power level as all of the other hand traps. It's a very impactful one, since it says your opponent cannot draw or add any more cards to the hand. This is very strong, but is not great in every meta. There will be metas in which this card is very good, and then other metas in which this card is pretty bad. I remember in the beginning a friend told me, okay, if you don't have enough crafting points for Ash Blossom, just put in Duel and Lockbirds. He made the mistake of basically making me think this would do the same thing, which they definitely do not the same thing at all. But I understand his logic in the sense that this is a very strong card that is only a super rare. So if, for example, you have gotten 3 Maxis and 3 Ash Blossoms and don't have any more crafting points, just get 3 Duel and Lockbirds and put them in as your non-engine, and they will definitely come up from time to time, and then you can also put in maybe a few evenly matched after or until you get the infinite permanence, the Called by, and the Cross Out here. So definitely nice, since this is a super rare. We have Ghost Ogre and Ghost Ogre. It's only Ghost Ogre, which is a very situational card, worse than the Ghost Bell, I think, and something that you really not need to get. I mean, if you're playing in a tournament setting where there is normally best of 3 with side deck, then you want to get, or you want in an optimal world, have all of these cards here available, because they can definitely come up, but in this best of 1 format, these are just not important. Then we have the Gamma package here, consisting of this guy, the Frame Driver, and then also the Gamma, the Alpha Gamma, or the Gamma Driver that can negate a monster effect, and the Gamma Driver that can negate a spell effect. Since these are all super rares and this is a rare, I think this is a package that is really, really nice. I would even put this over Duel and Lockbird that you can go ahead and put into your deck. You would put in the Psy Frame Driver and then the Gamma as well as the Delta, so that you have 1 monster negate and 1 spell and trap negate. Very, very strong, a very cheap package that you can run and rock until you have all of these cards available. Then we have Ultimate Slayer, a board breaker that is super situational. I would even say don't get. There will be metas in which this will be nice. The Ryziel meta, for example, which we will approach in a few months probably. But you don't need to play this. This is more of a, okay, let's put it at the bottom of the situational. This is even more situational than a Duster, and something that you don't really want to get. Then you get 1 Lightning Storm in a bundle. That's nice. Other than that, this is once again a situational card. I think it's better than Duster, since it can also destroy monsters in attack position. Come on, in between here, but definitely not something that you need to prioritize. Triple Tactics Thrust is at the bottom of the high priority category, in my opinion. This can definitely be nice at some points. But most times you would want to run 3 of this, or at least 2, I think, in the deck. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense to play only 1 if you want to play this in order to find a specific card. So you would need 3 of this. Having this card is nice. If you draw it from a pack, then keep it. The high priority cards, if you get them from a pack, I would definitely keep. The situational cards you can think about decrafting if you really need the crafting resources. Other than that, I would also keep them. The don't get you can decraft without feeling too bad about yourself. Then we have Dimension Shifter, which is an ultra rare. It is at 1 now, and it's super situational, and especially because not a lot of decks can actually run it. But if a deck can run it, you definitely want to run it. So if you get a Dimension Shifter, keep the Dimension Shifter, and just in case that you play a deck that can run the Dimension Shifter. Then we have Winter Cherries, which is a card I wouldn't get or I would decraft. This never ever came up. Maybe in the Tier Elements format where everyone was playing Tier Elements, where you could rip the Tier Elements kit colors from the extra deck, but this is so super specific, super situational, a card that will basically never come up. Then we have the Mulch Armies, which are new to the game, the new Maxis as they call them. Let's first talk about the Purulia. Mulch Army Purulia is once again super situational. There will be metas, I guess it's not that bad. There will be metas, I guess it's even better than, honestly, it's even better than these cards probably. There will be metas in which this card will be great. When there is the strongest deck is basically summoning a lot from the hand, then you might definitely want to put this in. I can see... okay, let's put it after Ghost Spell, I think, because I can see more use cases for a Ghost Spell in most metas than a Purulia. A Ghost Ogre is then more specific in my opinion, but Purulia is not bad, but not something that you need early on. And then we have Fuvalos, which you could call a very good card on the top 5 here if you wanted to. You could make an argument for that, I think. Other than that, I think this is more of a high priority card that will be great in some metas. This makes your going first worse and you're going second better. So this is just something that you need to, it's a bit personal preference in my opinion, if you want to play this card or not. So I think this is, you could even call this top of situational, honestly. If you want to make your going first worse and you're going second better, then this is a great card, but you don't need it. You really don't need it. If there is ever a time where Maxi hopefully gets banned, then we would go ahead and probably play triple Mulch Army Fuvalos in our main deck. So then this would slide up on the top here. But for now, I think this is in the top of the situational category. So this is my tier list for what cards you should get first when starting on with Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, or if you are a budget player. Let me know in the comments if you have any further questions. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting a thumbs up and the notification bell. This would help me out a lot. And we will see each other in the next one.